N is for now, E is for everywhere, W is for world, S is for style, T is for refreshment, O is the noise we make when we are disappointed, P is what we don't have time to take, we're so damn busy, I cannot be found in team, and A is the mark we give ourselves for the quality of news service we give to you. Put them all together in the order hitherto given and you've got Newstopia.
Merhaba yine Sean Micallef, and this week on Newstopia Tonight. Merkel meets Putin during lightning storm. Holidaymakers disappointed as National Congress orders Chinese warriors become less terracotta. And Ned Kelly's remains believed found. But first the news, and the question, where in the world is our former Prime Minister, was answered this week. America. When I'd heard that he'd resurfaced in a think tank, I assumed that he'd mutated into some sort of sea creature, like a manatee, and was being exhibited as a freakish aquatic novelty. How horrible for him, I thought, all those neocons staring at him, tapping on the glass, him on the other side, terrified at their grotesque, distorted, laughing faces. Well, apart from the marine references, I was pretty much right. And I'm pleased to report that John W. Howard was well received in Washington, surrounded by old friends like Dick Cheney's wife and convicted perjurer Louis Scooter Libby. After a Keating-esque speech pouring scorn over the government which vanquished him, the American Enterprise Institute gave Mr. Howard a standing ovation and a salad bowl. And good on him, he's earned it. In fact, Mr. Howard has very kindly loaned Newstopia his bowl tonight on the very strict understanding that we look after it. Right, sorry, Jeanette's going to kill me. Well, despise him or loathe him, sorry, I'm talking about somebody else now. Can we bring up the photo in the box there so it's not confusing? Ian Paisley's absence we felt in Northern Ireland politics. He's resigning as leader of the DUP and as First Minister at Stormont. Martin Palsey speaks a bit loudly.
Hammer! 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 It was a cat's cry that caught on. And after 40 years, Irish eyes are still smiling, but there's a tear in the throat. Ian Paisley was as difficult to coordinate as his name suggests, and he rarely went with anything. For 2 generations he wore his hatred for the Irish Free State and Sinn Féin proudly. He also wore a raincoat done up to the neck. Both were implacable. But then, the unthinkable. His work with Deputy Sinn Féin's Martin McGuinness over the last 12 months, rendering his previous 4 decades of political activism and rabid rhetoric a complete waste of time and breath. So it's goodbye to the old raincoat and on with something that might have looked better on Oscar Wilde, and probably still would. Let's hope that, like an aesthetic epileptic, it's a good fit. Martin Palsey, a mug!
Martin Palsey in Ian Paisley's birthplace, not in pain. Back home, and despite gaining some kudos for its apology to the stolen generation, the federal government still faces the daunting task of managing the Aboriginal intervention. Aboriginal leaders say health checks are all well and good, but what's the government's follow-up plan? One medical practitioner about to join the intervention is Dr. Andrew MacDonald, who says his first priority will be to open the lines of communication and establish a dialogue with the Aboriginal communities.
Well, there's no doubt it's a massive job, but we're not going into this with our eyes closed or anything like that by any means. All we can do, at least at the outset, is to try have a wee chat with the people, find out what they think they need from us, then set about analysing and collating the information before settling on some sort of plan of attack that might have some chance of helping improve the quality of life of the people out there.
Albert Collins from the Indigenous Affairs Council is cautiously optimistic about the task force.
We of course support any measures that improves the health of our people, particularly in remote communities. Whether this task force can improve on previous attempts remains to be seen, but we'll give it all the support we can, providing we are part of the process, treated as equals and not patronised.
That report there. Still at home, but not really. It may sound sacrilegious, but the possibility of the Kokoda Trail being mined seems all the more likely. Last week, the Prime Minister was in Papua New Guinea talking to Sir Michael Somare. A year before, he was on the Kokoda Trail itself, courtesy of Sunrise. And many years earlier, other Australians were there, courtesy of the Land of the Rising Sun. One of the mining companies vying for the lease is Craxon. And joining me now is the Head of Public Relations for Craxon, Melinda Bruce. Melinda, from all reports, the size of the copper deposit is massive. But surely the Kokoda Trail is sacrosanct. Isn't this project just going to be perceived as obscene?
Oh, well, we knew how this was going to be played out in the media, Sean. We knew that we were going to be portrayed as the bad guys here for desecrating a war grave. But sometimes when you're doing something for the greater good of the community, you have to cop that stuff.
So you expected the backlash?
Oh, yes. It's still pretty hurtful and insensitive, but we'll soldier on.
Is the company really fully aware of the significance of the site?
Oh yeah, we know that hundreds of diggers lost their lives there, and of course they're remembered and honoured at ceremonies every year. And unfortunately no one stages events every year to honour or thank Craxon for the copper they provide for phone lines or power lines, but we still like to think that we make a pretty damn significant contribution to Australian life too.
You're not comparing your company with war heroes though, eh?
Well, internet and telephones have brought a lot of freedom, Sean. And mining is pretty dangerous work too.
Yeah, but we're talking about a military and a cultural icon. I mean, it's virtually a sacred site, isn't it?
Well, to them, yes. And to us, a multi-billion-dollar mineral deposit is a sacred site. So where's the respect for that?
Do you think you might be underestimating the depth of feeling for the diggers?
I think that the diggers would turn in their graves if they thought that they were holding up Australian industry.
They won't have to turn in their graves. You'll be doing it for them quite literally, won't you?
Well, people drown every day at sea, Sean. I mean, should we stop drilling for oil at Bass Strait?
Melinda Bruce, for your sake, I think we'll leave it there. Good news at last in the polls for Brendan Nelson, whose approval rating as opposition leader is higher than his rating as preferred Prime Minister. The embattled Liberal Obersturmführer can take comfort in the fact that while 93% of the population don't want him running the country, 1 in every 50 people from that group are happy for him to at least have the job that ensures it. And still speaking of figures, the Forbes Top 500 Rich list is out, and it's not good news for Microsoft founder Bill Gates. Tony Piran from Forbes. Tony.
That's right, Sean. Old Gatesy's been knocked out from the #1 posse by fellow US billionaire Caucasoid Warren Buffett, who, despite giving away the bulk of his money a year ago to Bill Gates and his wife, still has more money. Doesn't make any sense at all mathematically. It just shows how freaking appalling things are for the Gatemeister at the moment. In fact, he didn't even get second place this year. That went to some phone cat from Mexico. And it's uncertain at this stage, Sean, just how Gates intends to rebuild his shattered financial empire.
OK, what about the bottom 500 list, Tony? What's happening there?
Well, Afghani non-Nigerian Afiza Duard is most impoverished again for the 3rd year running, with personal assets of a bottle top and a 3-centimetre bit of string. Forbes magazine. Go for it.
Thanks, Tony, for that very, very special report, and not a plug at all. The landmark flight to Amsterdam of a Virgin passenger airline powered entirely by part biofuel continues to set tongues clucking. Sir Richard Branson says it's historic, but then he would, wouldn't he? Pilger Heston has a theory.
An aircraft engine powered by the extract of a nut found only in Brazilian rainforests. What better way to protect one dwindling resource than by plundering another? Richard Branson has done it again. Or has he? Once the rainforests are gone, Branson hopes to harvest algae from the Earth's oceans to power the planes that house his annoying cabin crew. Christ, I hate them and their irritating young people's banter. If I want to hear a joke, I'll read one of Philip Adams' excellent anthologies, thank you very much. Just give me my overpriced half tube of Pringles and get your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape! This is Pilger Heston on a planet not unlike Earth.